Hello and welcome. If you're new, I'm Camille here with 30 Day Singer. And today we're talking about how to choose a good key for your voice. There will be less singing in this live lesson than is typical because there's a lot to discuss. So let me give you just an overview, a bird's eye view. We will be here for an hour. Hi, Nick. Hi, Roman. And the last 15 minutes is just Q&A, but you're welcome to ask questions in the chat as we go along. So here's what I intend to cover with you, and I'll be as succinct as possible, but it's a big topic. First, what a key is and what it's not, major versus minor keys, answering the question, is there a good key for your voice in general? Like, as a singer, could I say, oh, my key is G? That's just the key that I sing in. Because I hear people say that sometimes. And spoiler alert, the answer is no. How to find the key of any song, tips for singers, tips for instrumentalists, and how to find out if the song is in a good key for your voice already, how to analyze the melody's range and the demands of the specific song, and then how to change keys if needed. And hi, Benasil, and hi, Pete. So, first, what is a key? A key tells us a set of pitches on which a piece of music is built. So, it's a little bit confusing. Some people get confused by the difference between a key and a scale, and they're very, very related. So, here's an example. Let's say we take the key of C. If someone tells you this song is in the key of C, what does that mean? It means that, well, specifically if they say it's in the key of C major, and if someone just says key of C, the default is C major. If it was C minor, which we'll talk about that later, but if it was C minor, they would say C minor. Anyway, so if they say this song is in the key of C, that tells you a few things. It tells you, number one, that C, the pitch, so it could be this C, this C, this C, any C around the keyboard. That pitch serves as what we might call home base for the song. So when the melody lands on that pitch specifically, when the melody lands on C, there's this sense of completion. It tells us that the pitches in the C major scale are the pitches that both the melody and the chords are going to use primarily. So I'm using key of C as an example because if you play any instruments, you already know the key of C is no sharps or flats. In other words, on the piano, it's all the white keys. So key of C tells us what? Home base is C. It also tells us that the C major scale, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, and then that scale is going to repeat. Okay, it tells us that those pitches are also going to make up the melody and the chords. The difference between a key and a scale, though, this is an important distinction. A scale is in that specific order. So a scale is not. A scale is. It has to follow that specific order of half steps and whole steps. Whereas I could play a melody using those pitches. And I'm playing in the key of C because all the pitches I played belong. So there's a caveat here. Often you will have pitches in a melody that technically don't belong in the key and they still sound good. But for today, we're focusing on simple examples. So let's assume if we say something's in the key of C, now I know the melody uses the pitches of the C major scale. C is going to serve as kind of home base. And a key is named by what we call the tonic. So when I say home base, the music theory term is actually the tonic. You don't have to remember that. I'm going to continue to use home base because I think that makes sense to people musical or not. Um, so tonic, home bass, it's also, if you're thinking in terms of numbers or scale degrees, that would be your 1. So that scale, we could sing it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1. There's my tonic, my home bass. And notice how incomplete it sounds if I were to play that scale without the 1. So here's an example. It doesn't sound complete until I resolve to the tonic or the home bass. Um, so, in Western pop music, and that's most of the, Billboard Top 100 is really what I'm trying to encompass there. The key will be major or minor. So, very quickly, we've covered this in other lessons, but a major key and major chords, major scale has this happy sound to it. So it's the scale I already played. A minor key has a sad or sometimes scary even quality to it. They do share a lot of the same pitches, but just notice the difference in sound between this happy major versus minor sad or scary. Um, I'm just mentioning that so that you know when you look up the key of a piece of music, you might see C major or E minor. And if the song has overall more of a sad or scary vibe to it, the chances are a little bit higher that it's in a minor key. We'll talk a little bit about that in just a second. Key signatures are something that you might run across, and key signatures are mostly important if you read music or play an instrument. Um, but the key signature will be it'll denote the number of sharps or flats that will be in that piece of music. So I mentioned before the key of C, it's all the white keys. There are no sharps or flats. Let's take, for example, though, the key of D. If I played only white keys starting at D, it would not sound like a major scale. It would sound like this. That's something else. So, in order for me to play a D major scale or play in the key of D major, I need a few sharps. I need specifically F sharp and C sharp. And here's what it sounds like if I use those. It sounds exactly like the key of C, just everything's a step higher. Same intervals, same order. So, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but you'll see key signatures either as a collection of sharps or flats. Sharps look like hashtags or pound signs, and flats look like little thin, almost slanted lowercase b's. So if you Google sharp sign music and flat sign music or key signatures in music, you'll see exactly what I mean. So if you're reading a piece of music, you identify what key it's in by looking at the key signature. And the key signature, it's going to be right after the clef. So you either have a treble clef or a bass clef, depending on your instrument. And then you will have a collection of some number of sharps or some number of flats. And if you see nothing there, if there are no sharps or flats, that tells you you're in the key of C, remember, no sharps or flats, or A minor. Um, so major versus minor keys, we already touched on just a little bit. We have what's called relative minors. So all I want to say about this is if you might make the argument that something is in a major key and your friend might say, "Oh, no, I think it's in a minor key," and you could kind of both be right. Um, that's because every major key has what we call a relative minor key, and they share a key signature. I know this is a little bit confusing, but the key of C, all white keys, right? But C is my home base, and my scale starts and ends on C. So C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. There's my C major scale. If I use that same set of pitches, same key signature, but I start and end on A, and A is my home base, this is what that sounds like. Now I've got A minor, but it's the same set of pitches, just in a different order for the scale and different home base. So that's what is meant by every major key having a relative minor key. Um, it all comes down to which pitch feels more central to the melody. And again, you're asking yourself, where is home base? Um, okay, so the question, is there a good key for your voice? Could I say, oh, anytime I sing a song, I put it in the key of G and it always goes well? That might be the case, and you might find some keys that you kind of gravitate towards, but it depends completely on the melody. Because remember, a key, it's just a set of pitches, but pitches repeat in many different octaves. So a key can technically cover the entire length of the keyboard, and it does. Um, so it's not as simple as saying, "Oh, well, I found one song that I like and it's in a good range for me and it happens to be in the key of G, so that must mean G is a good key for my voice." That just doesn't make sense to say because the key of G again could be here. Sorry, sorry, sorry. It depends on where the melody is sitting within that key. So, how to find the key of any song? There's a couple ways. I recently found this website called inwhatkey.com, and it's exactly what it sounds like. So I'm going to put the link here in the chat, and we'll find an example. Okay. So number one on the list, Bohemian Rhapsody. I'm going to skip that one because that is a complex song with key changes. So I'm going to go to number 3, Perfect by Ed Sheeran. And if you click on that, number 3 on the list, G sharp major is the key. F minor is the relative minor. That's what we were talking about before. And now it tells us, okay, I have a slight issue with this. G sharp major, it's the same as A flat major. Um, so the way that they've set this up doesn't make a lot of sense, but they tell you the notes in the G sharp major scale. They tell you the chords that belong in G sharp major or A flat major. That's the same pitch. Um, the main utility in this though is telling you definitively, okay, Perfect by Ed Sheeran is in the key of G sharp major or A flat major. So that's a very, very easy way for you to figure that out. Second way to figure that out, especially if you're an instrumentalist, would be to look up the chords on a site like, let's say, Ultimate Guitar. And I'm looking it up right now so I can get you a good version that you can look at. What I look for is just the highest rating. And under type, I look for chords. So when I looked up Ed Sheeran Perfect, such a popular song, the when I see type chords, the first one that pops up has over 40,000 reviews, 5 stars. It's probably going to be a good version of this. Ultimate Guitar is user generated, so not every version is going to be great. But here is that. You don't need an account or anything, so you can just look at this chord chart with me and take a look. Perfect chords by Ed Sheeran, difficulty intermediate, tuning that's for the guitar. So if you don't play guitar, don't worry about it. Capo first fret, also for the guitar. And then it tells you key, A flat. I know that is confusing because we just learned G sharp major is the key. G sharp and A flat are what we call enharmonic equivalents. They are the same pitch, they're just spelled differently. I know that might seem so dumb to you. There's a good reason for it. Um, so then that's another way for you to determine the key. Another way for you to determine the key is to look up the song on karaokeversion.com. And you might be going here anyways if you intend to sing this with a karaoke track or transpose, which is what we're also going to talk about today eventually. So do the same thing. Go to that website, type in perfect, Ed Sheeran, the first one that comes up. And then you're going to see this title is a cover of Perfect as made famous by Ed Sheeran. They say what the tempo is, and they say in the same key as the original A flat. Great. So we have consensus. What if you don't have or don't want to use a website, though, to look up the key? The little trick to finding the key by ear is asking yourself this very important question. What pitch would this song have to end on in order for it to sound complete, resolved? Usually, not always, but usually that's going to be the final pitch of the song. Like the song ends, whatever the melody lands on, that's usually identifying the tonic or the home bass. So let's take perfect as our example. I go to the end of the song. I'm trying to figure out where I need to sing. Hold on. I need to go back a little bit. Dancing in the dark with you between. Sorry, guys, I'm transposed. There we are. Dance. Okay, so we have this chorus. I have faith in what I see. Now I know I have met an angel in person. She looks perfect. Here we are at the end. I don't deserve this. You look perfect tonight. So that pitch right there, that's an A flat. That makes the whole song wrap up beautifully. Now, that's not the only way to end a song, but a lot of times the melody is going to land on the tonic or home bass, which tells us the key. So again, you have those websites that you can double check, but this is actually a cool exercise to do. And I gave this exercise to one of my students the other day. I said, look up any song. It doesn't have to be one you even know well, but see if you can identify by ear what feels like home bass. What pitch would the melody have to land on in order for the song to sound complete? Sing it, identify what that pitch is, and you can do that if you have an instrument or if you have just a chromatic tuner. Tuner.ninja would be the easiest one to access. And identify that pitch and then look up the chord chart and see if you're correct. So, many ways. In what key, ultimate guitar, karaoke version, and then by ear or by feel. Okay, so now we're answering the question once we've determined, I know this is so much to cover. Once we've determined what key the original song is in, now we're asking the question, is this song in a good key for me? And you can find this out organically by just singing along and asking yourself, does this feel comfortable and does it sound good? And if the answer is yes, then you don't have to worry about anything else. You can say, "Oh, great. In the original key, this song is good for me." And you know, case closed. But if it's not, that's why we're here today. So the issues that you might run into, if the song is in too low of a key, you might have a kind of a muddy sound. You might lose energy. You might have a hard time even reaching the low notes or especially projecting on those low notes. If it's in too high of a key, you're going to have the opposite problem. You might sound strained, your voice might be cracking. Um, so the sweet spot for a song is going to be a good balance of both energy and comfort. Because again, if we put it in too low of a key, it's not going to have that much energy. If we put it in too high of a key, you might not be comfortable. Um, and you also might find, I've certainly found this in the past, if you try out a few different keys, one might kind of stand out. It might pop a little bit more. It might have a little bit more sparkle than the others. So, okay, analyzing the melody's range and demands. That's our next step. So let's say, um, let's say I'm singing Perfect by Ed Sheeran. Let's just keep using this song as our example. And hello, pitch casualty. Um, so this song is a good example for a singer like myself because you're gonna hear it's a little bit too low. The beginning goes, I found a love. And I don't sound good on that. I found a love. The rest of it's fine for me. Sorry, it would help if I played the right chord. Darling, just dive right in and follow my lead. Okay, but just based on that very beginning, I found a love. I can fake it, but it's not amazing. The pre-chorus is good, the chorus is good. Uh, if we kept singing along with that. Um, so then I'm asking, okay, well, how much higher do I need that to be? And what you can do, oh, Dancing Machine, is there a website that will tell you chords for a song if they're not given, such as a musical score? Not that I know of, unfortunately. If it's a well-known musical though, I still look on Ultimate Guitar. I mean, I will just Google whatever song I'm hoping to find the chords for, and sometimes you do get lucky. But yeah, that's a great question, and I can't think of any. Um, but I wish. That'd be nice. Uh Okay, so let's say you've got this song and you're like, okay, the high notes are fine, but the low notes are a little bit too low. You can use the Transpose browser extension to transpose or change the key of any video that you're watching on YouTube. So, this is what I would do if I were you and I did not play an instrument. I would play the song and then I would say, okay, since that low note is a little bit too low, let me try transposing up just one semitone. And by the way, if you see anything like +1 or -1, +2, -2, any of that, it's always referring to semitones or half steps. And that's the smallest interval that we have in Western music. It's going from any key on the keyboard to the very next one touching it. So if we moved from the key of A flat, which perfect is in, and I transposed +1, that would put me from the key of A flat. There's my A flat. It would put me now in the key of A. That's something worth noting because sometimes people will say, oh, I do this a step up. And a step is a whole nother musical term. You could mean a whole step or a half step. So, and usually you would mean a whole step if you say I do this a step up. So it's most clear and less confusing for everyone involved if you use semitones. So 1 semitone higher. Okay. So now pretend that this piano is instead the YouTube video. I just used Google's transpose browser extension, and now I'm hearing the song in the key of A. And maybe Ed Sheeran sounds a little bit chipmunky, but I'll sing along with it and I'll see, is this an easier fit? I found a love. Already such a big difference for me. So that low note going just from the E flat, I found a love, now to an E, I found a love. I'm totally comfortable with that. And the great news is I was already pretty happy with the pre-chorus and chorus. It's not going to be a problem for me to sing it a half step higher. Um, so problem solved. Now I know, okay, uh, as long as I'm happy with the rest of the song, I feel like the energy and the tone is good, then I know I like to sing perfect in the key of A. And that is 1 semitone higher than the original. If I am going to sing this with a group of instrumentalists or a guitarist, whatever, I would tell them that. For a guitarist, it would be very easy. They would just move their capo up 1. The keyboard player might not be super happy about it because they would have to play completely different chords, but the key of A is just as easy as the key of A flat, so they'll survive. Um, and Nick was saying, thank you for reminding me about transpose. I've been trying to remember it for ages. Okay. So, Nick, let me get you that link and anyone else who needs it. As far as I know, this is only available on a laptop or desktop. I do not think that it works on iPad or phone. But there's the link that you can download that browser extension and start transposing any video you want. Okay. So that was a really easy example. Let's take another example. Um, let's say it's a song that has a really wide range and the low notes are already low and the high notes are already high. Then I'm in a sticky situation because when I change the key, what I'm doing is I'm moving everything up or down a certain number of semitones. So with perfect, I moved everything, the melody and the chords up 1 semitone higher. And that means that let's say the chorus felt high for me already. Now it's going to be even higher now that I transposed it plus 1 semitone. So we cannot pick and choose by being like, okay, the verse is low, so I'm just going to bring up the verse and I'll keep the chorus where it is. Nope. If we change the key of the song, we change the whole thing. So if a song has a very wide range, sometimes we're just stuck. However, an option remains, particularly for singers who have a very different voice type from the original artist. So here's an example. You guys might know. You know what? I'm going to look up Walk the Line. So if I want to sing Walk the Line by Johnny Cash, you might think I have to put it in a different key because Johnny Cash has a really, really deep voice. And obviously, I don't have a really deep voice. So here are the chords. I keep a close watch on this heart of mine. I keep my eyes wide open all the time. I keep the ends out for the tie that binds. But guess what? I am not singing in the same octave as Johnny Cash. I'm singing right here. And Johnny Cash might be singing. So, am I singing in a different key? No, I'm just singing in a different octave, meaning Johnny Cash might sing this song starting on F2. I can sing it starting on F3, both Fs, so it sounds the melody's the same. So if your voice is so far apart, so different than the original singers, and you can sing a full octave lower or higher than them, then you don't need to change the key. It doesn't make a difference to the chords. You're still going to be singing with, whether you're here, I keep a close watch, or down here, or even higher. I keep a close watch on this heart of mine. I'm not changing the chords. I'm not changing the key. I'm just singing the octave that I sing in. I hope that makes sense. Okay. So we're analyzing the melody's range and demands. So let's say you know your range. And just as an example, let's say you can sing comfortably from C3 to C5. That's kind of like typical tenor, what we'd call tessitura, or their most comfortable, beautiful range. Okay, let's say that's your overall range, and you want to sing Shallow by Lady Gaga from The Star is Born. A Star is Born, sorry. And I'm analyzing that song, and I knew this already, that the high note, it's in the key of G. So the beginning would be really easy. And then you get to the chorus. I'm off the deep end. Okay. And you tell yourself, well, that's not a problem because C5 is in my range. I can sing that. The question then becomes, though, can I sing that pitch as intended or as desired? And if maybe the answer is yes, maybe the answer is no. So sometimes pitches will be within our range. We can sing it, but again, can I sing it the way that it should be sung or the way that I want to sing it? And so this is a very, very common example of I have a pitch accessible to me in my head voice. Ooh, but if I want to belt this like Lady Gaga does, I would need to have that pitch accessible in my mix, in my chest dominant, belty mix. So it's not just the range of the melody and how it compares to our vocal range, it's also the demands of the melody and how we want to sing it. So if you are a person who knows your range really well and can also analyze the range of a melody, then basically you have all the information you need. You would do this by analyzing the melody, take a listen, find the lowest pitch, find the highest pitch, compare it to your range, and then see, do they match up? Is the song within the limits of my range? And if not, then you can move it so that it does line up. We already mentioned this. Songs with a very, very wide range typically are going to have less wiggle room. So that's one way to do it, is to do the math. Alternatively, though, you could try different versions of the song on YouTube. So if you look up, let's say, I'm just going to see whatever the first result is. I'm going to stick with Shallow for now, but I'm going to look up Shallow karaoke lower key. So let's say that the low notes were not a problem and the high notes were. The first thing that comes up for me is by Sing to Guitar. And I'll put the link right here. Hi, Anchi. Glad you could make it. So, we're talking about changing keys, finding good keys for our voice. We're talking specifically about the song Shallow right now. And you'll actually see in the video description, it tells you. This is our lower key acoustic guitar karaoke. Version notes, that's what we're looking for. Tempo is slightly slower at 95 beats per minute. The lower key that they used here, they tell you, which is really nice, is F sharp or G flat. The original is in the key of G, so it is not that much lower, is the point. It's only one half step lower. So whereas the original would be going, I'm off the deep end, this version is going to go, I'm off the deep end. So not a huge difference. Let's see if there's another version on here. Okay. So you'll see there's a blue screen from Sing to Piano. This is, again, if you look up Shallow Karaoke Lower Key on YouTube. So Sing to Piano has another version. The title card is blue and it says in the bottom left -2. Remember, I said before, if you see plus or minus a certain number, they're talking about semitones. So -2, and it says in the version notes the key is F. So now you'd be singing, I'm off the deep end. So that's even just slightly lower. There's another version here for you. They just have version upon version. By Piano Karaoke is the channel name. It says Shallow lower -3. What does that mean? We're now 3 semitones lower than the original. So going from G was the original, -1, 2, 3. So now we're in the key of E. I'm off the deep end. So just progressively getting lower. That's another way for you to discover what the best key for your voice is going to be, is by trying out these different versions. And maybe you don't even know, should I go lower or should I go higher? That's okay. You can experiment. Again, you can use Google Chrome's browser extension, Transpose. That's probably the quicker way to go about this. But you could certainly just click around, try singing along. And then again, you're asking yourself, which key for my voice gives me the best balance between energy and comfort? And then the important thing for you to know and remember is the number of semitones that you adjusted. So if you, for example, let's say you landed on lower -3 and you're like, that's the one, then you would be going 3 semitones below the original, which was G. So there's G, -1 semitone is F sharp, -2 is F, -3 is E. And now you know, if you're going to play this with a guitarist, pianist, a band, that you do this song in the key of E instead of key of G. Ultimate Guitar also has a transpose function for you. So if you still have this open, I can't remember if I copied this into the chat, but here it is. Okay, so if you're looking at this chord chart, you scroll down. There's actually like a floating menu that kind of stays at the bottom of the page, and it says font -1 +1 chords auto scroll transpose -1 +1. Okay, the transpose -1 +1 is what we're looking for right here. And you'll see that the chords change as you click around there. So in the original key, you don't have -1 or +1. The chords are E minor, D, G. You'll see the chords in blue. C, G, D. Okay? minus, let's go minus 3. 1, 2, 3. Now I have different chords. C sharp minor, B, E, A, E, B. Um, so that's going to be in the same key as, it's going to sound very similar to the track that you found that was minus 3. The one thing to note here, because it's not in blue, it's not part of the page that will adjust, is it's still going to say key G on the top there. So if you're expecting that to change too, it's not going to change. Um, Okay. So if you are an instrumentalist, keyboard players, lucky ducks, you often have a transpose function on your keyboard. I do on my keyboard. So if I am feeling lazy and need to transpose something, instead of playing different chords as I just did, I could just use the transpose button. Guitarists, if you have a capo on your guitar, you can start by either moving the capo down, moving it up, removing it. Um, Here's where we get into trouble, though. Not trouble, but just it's more work. If you're playing guitar and there is no capo, and the singer wants to be in a lower key, that means you're going to play different chords. And for an experienced guitarist who's not too fussy, they might not get mad. But for beginning guitarists who have only practiced it in one key, or for complex songs that are kind of written a certain way, and the chord shapes and fills and stuff like that, um, you you might get a guitarist who's a little upset about that. So this is not something that I would just throw at someone like, "Hey, I do shallow in the key of E." If you're not with an experienced, flexible guitarist, they might not be able to help you out. Um, Anyways, sorry, guitarists, if I offended you. And last, how to change keys. Um, so how to change keys if you can't find a track in the key that you settled on. So let's say this is you. You are singing this song that's kind of obscure and does not have a lot of tracks available online. So if you search for this not super well known song, lower key or higher key, nothing comes up, then you've got to do it yourself. And that's fine. Um, you can use an app like AnyTune is one that a lot of people like. There's plenty of websites. Uh, if you Google transpose MP3 online, many sites will pop up for you to use. And again, however many semitones you raised or lowered the original to get it to be in that sweet spot for you, you're going to do the same thing with the karaoke track. Simple as that. Um, if you are changing keys on a chord chart, like we just did, you're going to look for the transpose feature. And then sheet music that someone asked about before. Transposing sheet music, obviously, it's impossible if it's a piece of paper. Most likely, you would need to use a digital service or buy a copy in your key of choice. Some sites will allow you to change the key, but usually those are paid. So that's that. Okay, it's just about time for questions. If you have a song, um, oh, and Anshi was saying, is there a link for any tune? Let's see. Any tune app. So here's any tune on the App Store. Doesn't have good ratings on Google Play, so I don't know if that's there might be a better app for you out there. So any tune, You can slow down a song, choose the perfect pitch, blah de blah. There are going to be other apps. That's just one that, you know, has good reviews, at least on the App Store. Okay. So, questions. Throw some questions. And if you have a song that I might know, preferably, I can help analyze the melody for you. Um, if you're like, what key is this song in and what's the range of it so that I know if it's a good fit for my voice, I could help you out with that. But if you have any other questions related to this or not, have at it. 15 minutes are yours. Um, I think the two big takeaways from today are when you're choosing a key, you're going for that sweet spot, that balance of comfort and energy. And another takeaway that it's a given for me. I didn't even mention this, but there is zero shame in changing the key of a song. Um, it's something I think you should do. Uh, if the original's not a comfortable fit for you and you can make an adjustment that makes it a comfortable fit, oh my goodness, why wouldn't you? Um, that's my opinion. The only circumstance in which that unfortunately doesn't work out well is if you are at a karaoke bar. Um, Usually they're going to only have songs in the original key, so you would want uh you would want to choose a song that is a good fit for you in the original key. Anshi, one song I'm trying out is No Tears Left to Cry, and it seems a little too high. So, how could I change that? So, if it's a little too high, the first thing I would try, you can try two things, Anshi. You can download Google Chrome's Transpose extension and transpose the video. This allows you to transpose any video that you're watching and just go -1, sing along, see if it's more comfortable. If it's not, go -2, sing along, see if it's more comfortable. Um, Let me get that link for you. And again, this, I believe, only works with laptop or desktop, not with phone or iPad. So that would be my first step. Another thing that you can do is just look for a karaoke track in a different key. So, for example, No Tears Left to Cry, karaoke, lower key. There's a version in G minor I see by Sing to Piano, F sharp minor, also by Sing to Piano, um, one by Piano Nest. It doesn't say what key it's in, but it probably does in the description. Oh, it doesn't say. But hey, if it feels like a better fit for you, then great. Marianne, what range is In the Garden? In the Garden. Is that Alan Jackson? I'm not familiar with that song, so I would need to listen to it first. Um, but first confirm for me uh, that I'm guessing it's Alan Jackson because that's the first thing that popped up for me. But let me know, Marianne, if that is the version. That brings up a really good point. A cover song oftentimes might be in a different key. So the original of the song might be in one key, a cover that you listen to might be in another key. Okay, so yes to that being Alan Jackson. I'm going to take a little listen. You won't be able to hear it, um, but you've already heard it. So, so in the garden, I'm going to listen to the beginning. I come to the garden alone. Mm. So Alan Jackson is singing one octave lower. He's singing. So that lowest note he sings is a G2. Of course, for my voice, I can't sing any of those notes. So I'm just naturally singing one octave higher than him. I come to the garden alone. Assuming it doesn't go lower than that, then I would write that down as okay, lowest pitch, G3. And if that's comfortable for you, cool. I'm going to keep listening. My ear. Okay, so I'm going now to the chorus. I'm going to see typically like it is not true for every single song, but typically the verse is going to have the lowest pitch of the song. The chorus is going to have the highest pitch, or maybe the bridge, particularly the later choruses if it's like a pop song. But since this is a not a pop song, I'm going to listen to just the first chorus and see what's the highest note that is sung. Talks with me and he tells me I am his own. So, knowing this melody just a little bit, and he tells that the highest pitch is an A flat. So, if I'm remembering this melody correctly, I think I sang this at a funeral once. I didn't Anyways, it didn't click for me until I started playing it. So lowest pitch was that G, highest pitch was that A flat. So just over an octave range. And the key has ever known. Alan Jackson's version, at least, is in the key of E flat. So this song, it's so important to make this distinction. In the original key, or in the key that Alan Jackson sings it in, E flat, the lowest pitch is G, the highest pitch is A flat, an octave and a half step above that. So if that's in a comfy key for you, awesome. If it's too low, shifting it up, the range of the melody as we transpose is just going to shift up one semitone at a time. So G to A flat. Okay, if we shift it up one, that'd be G sharp to A, shift it up another, A to B flat, and so on until you find that sweet spot. Do you play major or minor scales to your students as a tool to help them feel the vibe of their chosen song, or is that method not used often? Um, I do with students who are working on ear training, um, but I don't. Uh, I think it's a good idea, but I don't do that with students who aren't necessarily working on ear training. But yeah, yeah, I do. Um, especially if they're especially if pitch or intonation is kind of a struggle for them, then we'll kind of establish, okay, this is our key. Let's say, this song that we just did in the garden. So there's our one or one. And Benasil, can you tell me a version? So I'm guessing you mean Blessed Assurance. Is that also Alan Jackson? I see he did that one too. But let me know if there's a particular version, and I'll listen to that one. Um, because since this is a hymn that's been sung by many, many people, it could be, each of those versions could be in different keys. So I want to get the one that you're used to. But yeah, Nick, if the student was singing this song and it was in the key of E flat, then yeah, could have them sing up and down the scale. And particularly if there's an interval in there that they're struggling with, we would kind of find that within the scale. So, what is it? Is it a 1 5 or a 7 2? Whatever. Okay, I'm going to start. By the way, Benasil, and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. Um, if I look up Blessed Assurance on inwhatkey.com, they don't have that. So I would need to use one of those other methods. Ultimate Guitar for sure will have it. Blessed Assurance. Yeah, Alan Jackson is the first one. Okay, first one who comes up is Alan, and I just got confirmation. So I'm gonna take a little quick listen. Um, so he is singing this in the key of C. Blessed assurance, Jesus is mine. And the first chord that's played is a C. They just kind of hang on that for a while. I'm going to skip forward a little bit. 7. This is my song, praising my Savior all the day long. This is my story, this is my song, Savior all the day long. Okay, so key of C, the lowest pitch, if you wanted the range as well, the highest pitch that he sang, this is my story, would have been like this D4. I can't sing as low as him, so I was just singing up the octave. Da, 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 would be D5, an octave higher. Savior all the day long. I don't think it went much lower than that, but let me listen to the beginning once more. Mm. Yeah, I'm not hearing it go, washed in his blood. I'm not hearing it go any lower than that B. So in the key of C, the range would be B3 to either C5 or D5. So again, it's just wider than an octave range in the key of C. Hello, Jack. We are just about to sign off, but Jack, if you had any questions, we've got a minute and a half. um, so Benasil, if that key feels comfortable for you, cool. But if not, again, because it's a hymn, there's so many different versions of it, and you might find another version in a key that feels more comfortable for you. But if you love this version and just want to keep using it, then you could transpose as you watch the video and stop when you find a good, comfortable spot. So, in our last couple seconds together, next week, I believe, we'll be talking about Vocal Health 101, answering any questions that can help with. You know that I'm a voice teacher, not a doctor. But with an instrument that is part of our body, we do need to know what impacts our voice and signs of injury, preventing injury, vocal hygiene, things that we can do to make sure that our voice is working well for a very, very long time. So I look forward to that. And thank you for being here. I hope this was helpful for you. I look forward to seeing you next time. And Jack, you will be able to watch this in its entirety. It just takes a little bit to process, but then it'll live on the channel forever. Okay. Thank you guys. Bye.